Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from 25th Dimension during my last QHHT Hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session. And when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking on my practitioner who's asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to me, I'm referring to myself under hypnosis, which means the answers are coming from 25th. Before I start reading, I want to thank you as always for subscribing, liking, and commenting on this video. It really does make a difference for me. And I love seeing your names pop up and your comments. I enjoy them very much. As you know, I do reply to every one of you. All right, I'm going to start reading here, but I want to preface this by saying I actually highlighted this entire answer from the 25th because this is probably one of my favorite answers in all the sessions we have done for some reason. So I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. So here we go. Lorrayne. Okay. How come some of us who are also consciously doing the work right now are better able to distance themselves from what we are doing here, as opposed to people like Lorrayne and I, who seem to be more, quote unquote, emotionally vested and can become dependent on timelines and signposts manifesting on schedule? So we can get out of here. Is it because of the personality of the NPC? Me. There are people that are much more go with the flow or skeptical in the sense of, they follow, they allow in different sources of information, different types of information that even though they contradict each other, we've already spoken about this with other examples in the past, basically in other sessions, where you're letting in all kinds of information that when you think of it, it could be contradictory. But because you're letting in all kinds of information, all of a sudden you are able to let in information from the 25th as well. So it all works out. Each essence chooses how to absorb and to what degree to absorb this information in a conscious manner. There is no right or wrong way. So in that sense, yes, it's very much the personality of the NPC. However, we already know it's always the higher self that's leveraging the personality of the NPC to have the experience that it chooses to have. So in that sense, the reason this question came up is because you and Clea just yesterday were having a call with Elena. Hello, Elena. Where Elena was saying, well, you girls need to be, more chill. Basically, this was the gist of it. And she's very much, when she said that, she was very much in alignment with her experience. She is very detached. That's why, for example, she's connecting with other information that she knows very well by now. We've very much said many times, that's not really how reality works. And that information is still based on separation and all these things, which is perfectly acceptable. There is no judgment. But to her, this is a way of spending time, of passing the time. Other people might be hearing from the 25th and then going to Intel channels and hear that the world is going to come to an end, not as in the takedown, but in a very bad way, like a nuclear attack or a new virus unleashed on the world, or whatever ugly way. They were laughing because, yeah, the Intel community does have fun scaring us, doesn't it? Dramatic way they're telling you that this is going to happen. That's okay because we're all just passing time and integrating and dealing with what we're dealing with. There is no right or wrong answer. So what was implied in this question, though, was that Clea was feeling, because just like you, Lorrayne, we don't want to be so quote unquote dependent on a timeline within the game because it becomes painful when the timeline comes and goes. We already said when we speak of timelines, we're not really speaking about time because there is no time. When we talked about the takedown, we were reflecting back to you. We were making you consciously aware of the fact that you had been working at a certain clip. And therefore, based on keeping the same pace, you're going to be done with this job by around this date. But nobody knew that you would change your mind and say, okay, yes, we are done with this job. And everybody else has already left. But there are a few of us that actually want to stay here a little bit longer and do this other thing, right? And so even now we're telling you the recall is going to happen. Earlier in the session, we said it's around the corner. And again, around the corner. You might decide that, right now it looks like it's still going to be in April, but you might decide to have it a little bit earlier, but it might also be a little bit later. Doesn't mean around the corner, just means it is imminent. It is going to happen within a reasonable amount of time. We're not talking about years. And just for reference, today is March 21st. And I did this session on the 2nd of February, just so that you know what they mean by it's around the corner. And because of that, of course, now you anticipate this because you know the work you're doing and you're saying, I know that that's happening because of the work we're doing. I am doing the work. I'm aware of having been doing the work. And therefore, I expect that to happen. And obviously, the sooner it happens, the sooner we see what is going to happen, what we decide to do after that. There is nothing wrong with this. Implied in the question was the fact that Claire was feeling bad, saying, well, I mean, why can't I be more like Alina? Look how serene and relaxed she is. She's hearing this, but she's not really letting it get to her. She's just living her normal life. But Claire is doing a different type of work from Alina. Doesn't mean different as in one is better. Alina is very, besides the fact that she's an ascended master, obviously, but she's very self-aware. It really is, that's what we mean by it is personality. But again, personality is just a tool used by the higher self to have the experience it wants to have. It is not Claire's personality to allow everything in, because Claire very much, which is the reason she ended up being used for this project of channeling this information, Claire very much focuses on one thing. She's very tunnel visioned. She will focus on one thing and get to the end of it and see, does this make sense or not? She will dig into one thing because she needs to understand it inside and out. So it's a different personality type, which again allows the person to have different outcomes in terms of what you want to experience. So Alina is doing fantastic because that's what she wants to be doing. Claire is also doing well because this is what she wants to be doing. But then she can't go back and say, well, I wish I was more detached. Well, if you were more detached, you would be having a different experience. And maybe you wouldn't be speaking with us right now. So things always happen as in, and we used this analogy before, it's one step after the other. Everything has to combine to match in your trajectory. So you can't all of a sudden be channeled in 25th and say, yeah, but I don't care about the recall, whether it happens or doesn't happen. I'm laughing, guys, because I mean, they know me so well. It is so true, all of this. Yeah, Claire always at a 3D level, she's always trying to protect herself, to prepare for the worst, saying, well, we didn't leave after the takedown, so we might not leave after the recall, so I better just stay with my feet on the ground. But the truth is that it is hard to do, because when you know, when we are telling you that this is what you're working on, it is hard to distance yourself from this. So there's nothing wrong. What we're trying to say is there's nothing wrong with people like Claire, people like you, Lorrayne, and many others who are waiting for this recall. There's nothing wrong with wanting the recall to happen, to be vested in the recall happening. And as far as we know right now, unless you change your mind, as far as we know right now, you're intending for this to happen. It's already intended. It will happen. You would have to do a complete 180 for this not to happen. At the same time, this is what concerns Claire. Every time she hears us use these words, unless you change your mind, because of course, she was one of the people that changed her mind after the takedown and is still here. So all of a sudden she's thinking, well, what if I change my mind again? And then what? And we don't have this recall, and then what? And then I won't believe any of this. And then I will just drive myself crazy because I do know that it's happening, but at 3D level, I don't have any proof that it's happening. And then we're laughing. So we'll say to you, always, always go inside because you know exactly what's going on. And after that, let it go. Whatever is being intended will happen. Nothing is going to happen that you did not want. Everything is going to go according to your plan. Lorrayne. Claire and I have a certain intensity to our personalities, and they were both laughing. And if Claire and the others change their minds, we might have to beat them up. And they were laughing some more. As I mentioned before, the 25th always has a great time with Lorrayne. Okay, on that note, let's go behind the scenes in 3D. The US government has warned that on January 26th, we will reach the national debt ceiling, which means that they will stop paying retirement to government retirees like the post office workers. They increased that by trillions during the pandemic on purpose to create hyperinflation and collapse the economy. And they don't want to pay out pensions because pension funds have been stolen a long time ago. So this works well for them. Also, Bank of America customers have had money disappear from their checking accounts, and now there's a run on the bank. It's obvious that these institutions are collapsing, but how is this going to play out? Because people are distraught, and I thought we were done with drama. Me. So from a 3D perspective, and obviously this is very 3D, it looks like these things are happening. The truth is, you can already see even from a 3D perspective, they were basically saying the sky is falling, literally, they were laughing. We reached the ceiling and we cannot go any higher. We broke it. We broke this thing. They're always printing money. Why could they not print more money now? We've known the dollar was worthless for a long time. Not only the entire world knows as well, but all money is fake. Money is a concept, is a belief, even at a 3D level. It's an agreement. It's a piece of paper. It means nothing. It just means what you want it to believe. And therefore, technically, yes, this dire warning, this has never happened before. And now the sky is falling scenario. But what has happened? The deadline has come and gone. We haven't even heard about it. Now, Bank of America, no, at this point, it's just a shell. There are no real essences supporting the idea of this corporation, as none of the others. All of them are in trouble. And so they're doing these things, and we're like, oh my gosh, this means something. This means they're proceeding with their dark plan, and finally they're taking money away from people. Has it happened? Yes, it has happened to a few people, but just like a lot of people over time have had, for example, their mortgages disappear. This could be mistakes. We can explain them away as being mistakes. It was always small sums. It wasn't, millions or billions of dollars that disappeared. Claire's still waiting for her credit card debt to be canceled. And we're laughing. And is it happening? No. I mean, we want to believe that the world's continuing as usual, again, on the surface, so everything is fine. Bank of America is fine. We're not really hearing of a bank explosion, a run on banks. Because it's true that we do not want this drama. This drama is not going to happen. We're not going to have dire situations. So yes, these notices, these warnings come and go. These factoids come and go, but they're really not affecting the whole, as you have noticed. You should imagine as somebody telling you, by the way, we just want to give you a heads up. We spent all the money and more that we could have possibly spent. And sorry, you would imagine that it would have been a huge deal. Instead, it's like, okay, what has changed in your life? Nothing's changed in Claire's life. Nothing's changed for anybody. Nobody's even talking about it. So you see, it's all more of the shell just to keep us entertained. And we choose this to happen. We're choosing this to happen, to have these, again, little shots of reality coming up. But it's nothing. All of a sudden, we're saying the direst thing, and it's nothing. I mean, think about it. We were talking about World War III just a few months ago, and it was nothing. Everything is nothing. These are just talk, talk, talk. It's all they are, because we do not want reality. The reality is balanced. So that stuff is not even supported. And secondly, we do not want to deal with any of that. We got enough on our hands. We're dealing with mastery work here. We don't have time for this nonsense. Lorrayne, I agree. Okay, next question. We truly have too many low vibe options available on this planet, like taking poison, for example, like these things and other drugs, whether legal or illegal. I had heard that there is less freedom on other planets because certain options are just not available. But is what we have here freedom? Do the other planets really have less freedom or choice than we have? It seems to me that we also don't have much freedom since all we get is low vibe options. Me. Yeah, so that's a good question because as you know, we always say the essence is always free. Everything that is happening, we have chosen. We don't need to be here in the first place as essence. So we have chosen to be here. Then we come here, we choose to participate in the game. We also choose how to participate in the game. So for example, there are people here who have had very dire lives, histories of abuse and everything else we can imagine and even not imagine, not even be able to imagine. And then there are people like you and Claire, for example, who've had what we consider to be normal lives, even pleasant lives. And so you can choose how to participate in this game. There are many facets to the game, many realities within the game that you can now choose to espouse and believe that they are real for you. So we all have different experiences. For example, no two people on this planet have had the exact same experience. So in that sense, there is freedom, absolutely. At the same time, the gist of the question was, yeah, but I mean, we don't really get all the choices here. When you are within a game, by default, you're going to be limited to the rules of the game, unless you want to act as a wild card. And therefore, we ask again, why would you even incarnate on a certain planet if you do not want to play with those rules? It's like saying, I'm going to sit down at this board game where they're playing Monopoly, but I decided that everybody else is playing it properly. And I decided every time I roll a one, I'm going to move at 10 spots. Why? They were laughing. Then go play a game where you roll one and you move at 10 spots like everybody else. We don't want to be the wild card. We gave an example in the last session where we said you don't want to have the ability to turn into a tiger in front of your husband because your husband is going to go crazy. That's not fun for us. It might be a shock factor, but it's not actually fun. What is fun for us is to play inside a game that is actually fun, where you get to do a lot of experiences, a lot of great things without breaking the game, okay? That's what we mean by using the rules of the game. You don't want to break the game. It's like you're playing Monopoly. You want to win using the game rules of Monopoly because it makes you happy. And so there is a reason for these rules. What Clea is alluding to is that she's saying pretty much what it translates into is that there are games that are a lot more fun where we've been told, for example, aliens, because they don't allow themselves low vibrational, poisonous products or extremely toxic products like we have here, does it mean that they have less choice? And does it mean that we have more choice because we really have access to everything? We don't. Really, rules are rules, as in what's available is what is available. At game level, we don't really have more choices than they have because guess what? Is exactly what Claire was saying. We mostly have low vibrational choices here. So really, we are missing all this gamut of better choices, of more fun choices, more pleasant choices. And the aliens, they simply have removed a lot of low vibrational choices because they know they have no interest in that kind of suffering. And so really at game level, we all have limitations, okay? That's the whole point really of playing in any game within the matrix, whether you're embodied or not. You want the limitations. That's the whole point. We are unlimited beings and we come into the matrix to experience limitation of some kind. But it doesn't mean that they are more free than us or that we are more free than them. We have different choices available. So again, the reason she heard that, was again from New Age spirituality, where they were saying, there comes a point where freedom is a negative thing because look at us, we have all this freedom and all of a sudden we're making these bad choices. It's like saying that you live in a place where you're not free to take heroin and therefore you're not free. You don't have all the choices really because you cannot take heroin. But here's the thing. If you have a healthy mindset because you are in a healthy place, in a wholesome place, it is your choice not to take heroin. It might even be available, but you wouldn't want it. And this is what these planets have done. They don't have these available because they don't want them. You think they wouldn't be able to create these things? They were laughing. These are very low vibe things that can be created like everything else is created. It's all holographic here. It's an idea. You come up with an idea and you create it. They're not interested in this. We are interested in this. And because we are so focused on this and we keep spiraling down this low vibrational ladder, because of course, these are low vibrational products. We know the essence can choose, but generally speaking, an essence who is attracted to this experience already knows what it's getting itself into. So it's already choosing a low vibrational experience. So by us focusing on this, we're really closing ourselves off to a lot of higher vibrational experiences. So really, we don't have more freedom just because we have more low quality choices available. We just have different choices. In the multiverse, we all have the same number of choices, if you want to put it that way, but we just make different choices here. Lorrayne, seems like the essences that really wanted those really low vibrational choices all incarnated here. They were all laughing. Lorrayne on the 25th. Me. Yeah, well, I mean, there are low vibrational products on other planets as well. You have to keep in mind low vibration. We think of low vibration as being negative here, but low vibration has a purpose. We already said there is no judgment, really. When we use the term low, we really just mean as opposed to high vibration. Low vibration, there is no judgment. You need both. That's where you have the vibration in a certain place. So you can have low vibrational choices on other planets as well. Does not mean, because again, we've had such an experience of the dark here that we always think, when we think low vibration, we think negative. We think of really, really negative things like child abuse or whatever that might be. Just because other planets have low vibration doesn't mean they have to be dealing with the sort of thing. So yeah, there is a lot of confusion in how we use the terminology. Just because we come to associate a certain vibration with a certain reality, it doesn't have to look that way. So higher dimensional planets also have low vibrational products or experiences available to them. It does not mean they have to be as low vibrational or as negative, as dark as we have here, or self-destructive as they are here. It doesn't mean that they are interested in having the same repercussions from things. That's why, for example, they don't have things like these things, because it's not the experience they want, which is I'm going to poison myself so I can have all these diseases. You know, my excuse will be that this is why I have all these diseases and all these things. On other planets, they might not be interested in cancer. They might not be interested in dementia. They might not be interested in all these different things. And therefore, they just do away with the trigger. Because within the game, we always like to think it's coming from the reason I'm having all these consequences is because of this product. And so they just did away with that. So they don't have to deal with the consequences. They haven't thought it through this way because they didn't have this thing in the first place. But they made, at a higher self level, they made the choice. We're not going to deal with this. Lorrayne, it's been common that all the essences they wanted these really interesting experiences chose Earth. And she was laughing. All right, thank you. Me. Yes, we will say though, I mean, there are diseases that exist on other planets as well, but on other planets, they also believe in the fact that they have the technology to remove the disease, because we already said the disease is a trigger. It may be a consciousness trigger, just like it's happened with Clea when she got cancer, right? There was an awakening that happened, and we use this term because we know you recognize it. But yeah, so they can have that on other planets as well, but they will resolve it. The awakening doesn't have to happen as it does for us by being so super painful. And we've discussed those before. We said you really can awaken through any strong emotion. It could be watching the sunset. It's just on this planet that we resist, and it's so dense here that we have to go through these very painful experiences to awaken. We don't have to, but we choose to. Well, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.